Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agents Podcast. Today, we're going to take your top questions that you have for us regarding social media, the mistakes we see agents making, and that we've made. So you don't have to. Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.
We're your hosts, David and Al Denning.
What happens when a millennial couple dives headfirst into the insurance world, scales $1 million remote business, and decides to share the journey with the world?
You get the Modern Insurance Agent.
Here, we reveal the messy, magical, and sometimes hilarious realities of building a business and a life you love.
From traveling the globe to building remote teams. Yes, even working remotely on top of a mountain in the Philippines. We're sharing insights, strategies, and plenty of laughs to help agents and entrepreneurs succeed.
Because, let's face it, success isn't just about hitting numbers.
It's about designing a life that works for you.
So let's dive in and build something extraordinary together. So today we're super excited to dive in with you guys on the top questions that we get asked regarding social media, content, all these different areas, the mistakes we see agents making, and the ones we've made ourselves so that you guys don't have to and can instead thrive and scale your businesses. And we got a lot to cover today. But first, before we hop into that, Elle, where can they find the most up-to-date marketing resources?
Yep. So hop on over to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast to get our up-to-date marketing checklist, as well as all of these podcast episodes with the show notes. Again, that's jumpstartgonow.com/podcast.
Love it. So I'm excited to dive in. We got a lot of questions. We're going to do our best to go through, get you guys answers to all of these. As we get asked these questions all the time, whether it's in the Facebook group, which we have the Marketing for Insurance Agents Facebook group. It's about 35,000 insurance agents at the time of this podcast. Love to have you guys join the community if you're not in there, or whether it's on calls, whether it's just shooting us DMs on Messenger. We're pretty easy to reach, guys, so just hit us up. Always love to chat, but at conferences, it's always on the minds of agents, especially as they're looking to move away from some of the traditional methods, the grind, the smile and dial, and they want to take advantage of things like social, but they just are unsure of what to do, and they have really good questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kick it off, David, with probably, okay, so the number one question that we get in regards to social media is that what is the perfect time to post on social? People all want to know, what's the best time to post on social media?
So, I mean, I would say it used to be a more relevant question back when it actually had an effect. Because, yeah, it used to be where way back on social, like on Facebook, if I posted at 2 or 3 in the morning, no one would see it. It'd be basically a worthless post to where it would get served at the time I posted things. Social media has gotten a lot smarter now. Maybe Zuckerberg, maybe it's the algorithm, who knows, right? Or maybe it's just getting sentient and we got to watch out. But with that said, right now, social media knows when that it can serve things up to who it thinks might like to see it most at the time that they're on social. So when you hop on like Facebook, for example, and you see your feed, it's not all the stuff people posted right then. Time is not how it's sorted. It's sorted by what Facebook thinks you want to see, and it's showing you, even if it's over the last few hours, over the last day, sometimes even in the last few days, if it thinks it's really relevant to you, something that you would like or that you interact with. So I guess short answer is there's no best time of day anymore. Yeah. I wouldn't primarily post at 2 or 3 in the morning necessarily, but what I'm saying is it doesn't really matter as much on time of day.
Yeah. I mean, we have content in the Facebook group that is years old, like reels that we've done, Facebook Lives that we've done, even like some engagement question style posts. It'll be from like 2021, 2022. It's 2025 right now. And so years ago that we posted content that's still getting comments from it. But I think what people can also see is that they still get likes, they still get comments on content maybe they posted days or weeks ago. And it really goes because the algorithm is so smart now that it's curating everybody's feed. So even if you and I had the same exact friends list on Facebook, for example, the same people that we were connected with, when you log into Facebook, there's going to be different posts that you're going to see first versus the posts that I see first, based off of what I'm interacting with, what I'm liking and commenting on. So that's a really important thing to take into consideration with timing. So what do we advise agents when they're asking us the question, what's the best time to post?
Whatever time works best for you, and that you can be consistent in, right? You know, it's crazy how much more targeted my messaging, my content and everything can be on who it gets served to because of this. It used to be back in the day of like, okay, well, a lot of people who might be my target market drive by this billboard. Let's throw it up and hopefully some of them see it, right? Yeah. Versus now social media can choose exactly who to show it to when they happen to be on, not when they happen to take their eyes off the road and hopefully don't hit anybody, right? And so, you know, it's advanced a lot in those ways. And that's why social media is so powerful today. It's also good news that timing doesn't matter quite as much now, because now it allows more flexibility. And as entrepreneurs, we like flexibility. We like being able to balance, you know, what's most important to us and our businesses, time with family, or we run into agents all the time that maybe they're also working another job as they're looking to take off on the insurance side, and they're like, man, can I do this if I work a job too? Oh, absolutely. And that's why I like that it is flexible. Whereas like leads, when I'm calling them on the phone, I have to catch them when they happen to most likely hopefully answer the phone there. But social, I don't have to rely on the exact time they happen to be on social media now. So absolutely, that's advantageous, I would say.
Yeah. Another really common question that we get is, what's the best platform to be posting on?
So it depends. I know it's not the most fun answer, right? But
you're not giving very straightforward answers here.
Listen,
David.
I'm trying to be transparent. I'm trying to give the real answers, not what, oh, we happen to spend our most time on this platform, so it's the best. But with that said, like each platform has its pros and cons, something that makes it unique. If it was all the same platform, one would win and the others would die, right? But there's a reason these platforms exist, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. They're all different, and they all even have different target audiences. People spend time on them, and that all plays a factor in what's going to be the best platform for me, for my business. And there is no blanket overall for everybody best platform. Now, I would say if I go where maybe the widest range of agents and target markets could take advantage of, and what might be some of the quickest and easiest ways with the least amount of content, then yeah, Facebook is a great one. That's obviously where we've originally grown our audience, our business, and we leverage it very highly. And don't let Mark Zuckerberg know this, but I don't even really like Facebook. I mean, I know.
What?
Gasp, I know, right? Like, you know, I don't think it's the most positive platform, and sometimes it is a bunch of people arguing and, you know, popular maybe with different age groups and stuff. But, you know, it's such an amazing tool for business, getting in front of a variety of audiences and some really unique advantages like Facebook groups, that it's a great platform. And especially when I'm looking to advise agents who don't do a lot of content creation, or it's new, or it's scary for them, or something they got to ease into to balance the rest of their business, Facebook doesn't require a ton of content. So it's one of the ones we love starting agents off on getting results and growth. But whereas like what are some of your other favorite platforms, and what are some pros and cons on those?
Yeah, we obviously have the most personal experience with Facebook and Facebook groups, but I think YouTube for agents, I've seen some of our clients specifically have a lot of success with YouTube. And I think also part of that goes down to that they don't have to create as much content for YouTube to be satisfied. Like TikTok, for example, does require a lot of content, a lot of consistency, which can be difficult for agents to, you know, really create the volume of content that the platform desires. And YouTube, we've got one client that focuses on commercial trucking, And she has like 5 really well done YouTube videos, one of which really takes kind of a deep dive and is very pertinent to her target audience, people that are starting commercial trucking businesses. And she's consistently generating booked appointments off of that YouTube channel because it's people are searching. YouTube is something that, of course, is owned by Google. So it's relevant content as people are searching. They're looking for answers. They're looking for answers specifically as in regards to their insurance when they're starting up a business. So YouTube, I think, is a fantastic one and a great use of energy and time for people that are looking to grow an audience. But we also have clients that are having a lot of success with Instagram too, especially if they are looking to recruit, because Instagram's great for really showcasing lifestyle, and it can be a great recruitment tool for showcasing the time freedom, location freedom, those things that are really desirable for people that are either trying to escape the 9 to 5 or find something that they can increase their earning capacity in. So we have clients that are also using Instagram really successfully, both on reaching their target market to educate them about insurance products, but also on the recruitment side.
Yeah, and it helps that they're both owned by Meta. So, you get some crossover between Facebook and Instagram, but also you get some different demographics on Instagram that maybe don't spend a lot of time on Facebook because it's not as cool, right? And so, once again, there's different pros and cons. I mean, we obviously like LinkedIn a lot as well. I think it's a great platform. I still would venture to say I like Facebook for quicker and easier getting into conversations with business owners and leveraging things like Facebook groups with those, because they're definitely on there, especially small business owners and entrepreneurs. But LinkedIn is obviously the professional platform where they're at. They just don't generally hop on and spend hours a day on LinkedIn where they may on other platforms. But it is a great platform, not so much for content. It's more subject matter expert type stuff on there. But as far as messaging and getting connections and potentially getting in direct conversations without going through gatekeepers, it can be really good.
I kind of laugh a little bit because I feel like LinkedIn is the equivalent of working your leads or cold calling. Like it's the social media equivalent of that you need to be sending. It is a platform that you need to be sending at least 50, but closer to 100 messages a day in order to book appointments and get results from that. We do have clients that are very successfully using LinkedIn, booking 3 to 4 appointments every single day, but they are doing that volume of messaging of 50 to 100 messages a day. And I would say most of the people that come to us, they don't want to do that level of activity. So I typically don't recommend LinkedIn unless they've got a team member or some sort of system where they're able to do that level of messaging.
Yeah, I would say at the end of the day, like, we fully believe it can be fun to scale and grow your business and also leveraging your time in the best manner as well. So like LinkedIn, but that's something like a virtual assistant or something on your team can go execute each day for the repetitive nature of that. And you can spend your time on higher value tasks or even doing content that your virtual assistant is not going to be able to do for you, right? And so I'd lean more into that. And then obviously we love TikTok. It's one of my favorite platforms. I think it's fun. I think the algorithm's really good on it. And I think it's a great way to get to new audiences and stuff. It just takes a decent bit of content. But we have clients like Olivia and others that have done really well on TikTok. And especially if you don't mind making that amount of content, which people that grew up with social and make videos for fun, hey, that's a great platform if you're willing to do the work on it. So at the end of the day, it comes down to you, your target audience. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the one you're going to be most consistent with and focus on. One thing we will always recommend as a top answer to a common question is focusing on one platform and growing successfully on that before venturing to others. Being in all places and trying to leverage a bunch of different platforms usually ends up in not successfully growing on any of them and creates a whole bunch more work versus growing successfully on one and then leveraging that into more.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we talked about
What's next?
Time to post. We talked about platform.
Okay.
What kind of content actually generates leads?
Good question. So it's clearly one exact type of post with a certain text and a great
It's
audio
magic,
sound.
right?
It's
If you
magic,
just,
right?
like,
So
put words together in this magic combination, it will rain leads on you all day long.
if
right?
anybody tells you that, go run. Like, and that's exactly why common I don't want to say solutions because it's not that, but commonly used things like in the insurance industry, like Hearsay Social and others, where it's this sanitized like content of everybody just grab and use this piece of content, doesn't produce any results because that's not how it works. Otherwise, it would be here's some magic post to do for your social and it makes it rain leads, but that's not what happens. And that's also not why people even go on social media. So just think about it yourself. Like, do I go on social media to see the exact same post all the time of stuff and people trying to market for business? I would not use the platform, and that would cost the platform money, and so therefore they don't encourage that. So coming back to that, what types of contents perform best? Well, let's think about social media. People aren't hopping on there to go buy insurance as exciting as we think that is, right? So it's got to be content that does capture interest and attention. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. So I need to leverage the platforms the way they're intended. So part of my content needs to be personal. It needs to be trust building. It needs to be interesting. It needs to capture attention as a part of that. So that needs to be a blend of it. But also, people need to know what I do, and I need to have trust and authority kind of around that. So I need to include some business stuff too. So how do I balance, entertaining and personal content with business, and how do I leverage that together in the type of content?
Yeah, such a good question. So we take an 80-20 rule to content strategy. So again, we do recommend Facebook as far as getting started because it doesn't need as much content. You can post 5 times per week, and that's sufficient content to satisfy Facebook. And so if you're applying the 80-20 principle, that means that 4 out of your 5 pieces of content are going to be more focused on things that make you you. Only you can be you. So whether those are things that are hobbies, interests, maybe things about your family, things that you're involved with your community, things that really allow your audience to get to know you as a person, because that's really where your trust is going to be built. That's where your rapport is going to be built. And then once per week, you really want to focus on something that is going to be that authority building type content. We, for a long time, did a Facebook Live once a week. And that was our one piece of authority building content that we did every single week. We were super consistent with it. So even if you wanted to take that type of strategy where you're doing a video, a live stream once per week as your authority building content, and then the rest can be more focused on interest, hobbies, and ideally the things that make you and human and your interest, there is an overlap with those things and your target market. So things that they would also find interesting as well. That's really a good mixture to shoot for when you're thinking about designing your content plan.
Yeah, I mean, that is way more applicable and a good way to think about it than there is no like hacks and like short or like let me put 50 different hashtags on a post and it'll get to the right people and it'll absolutely, please don't do that, guys. We see that often. We see people like back in the old SEO days of stuffing keywords in the footer of a website or ever, if anybody knows what that is. Things like that don't work anymore. Like algorithms have gotten smarter, and it is really rewards the content it wants to see and put in place. And part of the reason that we talk about this personal mix of the business is how the platform works in the first place. Facebook and social platforms, they make their money by keeping people on the platforms and then people paying for ads, right? So they want to reward keeping people on them. So that's where that personal side, yeah, the trust and psychological aspects of it, but it's also the type of content that gets people commenting, watching, staying on the platform, so that as I have something talking more from a business perspective, it actually gets shown to them and pushed in front of them because I'm doing what the platform wants as far as including the personal aspects too. So there's a reason, there's strategy to this. If you're using social media for fun, yeah, do whatever you want on social. Certain things will definitely get more attention than others and stuff like that. But if you're using it for business, you got to put the right strategy in place. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels and wasting time. So,
and what do we say to people when they say to us, I don't have a very interesting life. I don't do anything outside of my business.
Liar. Just kidding. Just kidding. You know, I feel like a lot of people think that. And that is a very common question, right? Like, that's not something like, oh, I feel like I'm, different than everybody else there, and I just have a totally boring life. I find normally when we ask the right questions, I start to pull interesting things out, that are definitely interesting to someone, maybe not interesting to me, but they're interesting to someone, right? So especially potentially their target audience or niche, right? Like, oh, I study Civil War history and go to reenactments or whatever. Like, yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but there's a whole audiences that love that and are into that, right? And so that's important, that there are unique things interesting about. No one goes to work, sits down, calls 500 times a day, goes home, goes to bed, and does that 24/7, 365. I mean, if you do, props to you, but you got to be a robot. Like that's not a part of it, right? And that's also not why we build a business, is so that we can just become a slave to our job, essentially. Like it's a part of this being entrepreneurs' freedom and all these things. So everybody has something, whether it's your family, pets, sports, hobbies, entrepreneurship, coffee, travel, like all these things. And there's I remember specifically a client of ours, and if you're watching this may be you, had that same thing. Like, oh, not really interesting. I don't have as lot going on as far as stuff to do for social content. And I start asking some questions. And pulling out from these questions, find out oh, well, my daughters and I do enjoy drag racing, and they compete, and we go to a lot of drag racing. I'm like, that's the definition of interesting, right? To a lot of people, right? And ended up even tying his target audience into that. And he's like, oh, I had no idea, didn't think about that. But those are some of the things, right? When we ask, there's always something there, right? Like every person's unique, even personality. Doesn't mean you have to go do wild and crazy things and travel the world and things like that to have good social content.
You mean I don't have to jump on the latest trend or dance on video or any of this?
Yeah, no, you don't have to. I think it is more entertaining when it's fun and something you enjoy. And once again, it can be something you're passionate about. People like to see passion. People like to see that you're a real person, that you're interested in things. And there's definitely going to be audiences that like whatever you happen to like or be into. And yeah, we can lean into that too. So, that's where be you, and everybody's got something interesting, right? And this is once again where we love teaching how to leverage AI. And I feel like one of the coolest uses of ChatGPT and AI and stuff is helping non-creative people be more creative. Right.
Yeah,
and I think that used to be a thing that get a lot of people stuck on social. What do I post? What do I say? What do I do? And that's something we love teaching people, of how to use ChatGPT to make that easier and simpler. And oh, my life is boring, but I've been talking to ChatGPT and telling it about my life or things. And also ChatGPT, hey, here's 5 interesting topics or things that you love doing that would be great. And be like, oh, I never even thought about that. That is really good. Or I forgot I had that story. That's a really great story that people love. Right. And so at the end of the day, if you say you're completely boring, I guarantee it's not. Because one thing that you absolutely can talk about, and every insurance agent, agency owner is entrepreneurship and your journey in that. Starting something new, starting something scary, learning new things, having to overcome objections and talking to people. All these things you're learning anyways, those are absolutely things you can talk about. And especially if part of my target audience is entrepreneurs or business owners, well, they absolutely can relate to those topics, right? So there's something right there that's not boring. You're trying to build a business in an industry that can be tough, and that's a journey in of itself.
Absolutely. In there, you mentioned hashtags, and that's definitely a question that we get. So should you be using hashtags?
I'm old enough to know that it was originally called the pound sign on the phone. So you can tell what generation someone is if they see the phone and it says, oh, why is the hashtag sign on there? It's like, oh, all right, you grew up in social media era, right? So yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
Should you use hashtags, or how do you use hashtags to get more reach and exposure?
Honestly, I feel like you probably know that even better than me, but as far as where does it actually even matter or make any sort of difference, and where is a complete waste of time? So
yeah, so historically, hashtags have been used as a way for people to find information, almost like they could put certain hashtags into a platform, and then it would pull up all of the relevant content. Well, with the way that people use social media, like TikTok, for example, is basically becoming like a Google. You can type things into TikTok and it pulls up all of the relevant videos. It's not looking at your hashtags. It's looking at what is being said in the video and, putting the captions on the video. So the actual content itself is the primary thing that it's looking at to put those videos in front of people. So a better way to do this is to better understand what people are searching for on the platforms and developing content around that versus putting hashtags on your content.
That's the thing. The platforms and leverage of AI have gotten so smart at things, whether it's analyzing what you're talking about in the video or looking at the comments and what people are saying, responding, that you're not tricking it anymore. Now it is really good at delivering the right content to the right people, and the algorithms keep getting better and better at it. So you're not going to let me do a video on mortgage protection, and if I throw the hashtag families, it'll just start showing this video to families, and all of a sudden my target market's seeing this and coming to me. Like it's not like the cheat code of throw a hashtag on something and it just shows up to that group like it maybe used to back in the day. So
I've even heard the argument that it can almost like have the opposite effect because it's like pigeonholing your content to some degree versus just allowing the algorithm to take it and serve it to people that are searching for it. So I don't have any data necessarily to back up that specific point.
We love making decisions on data.
We don't use hashtags on our content.
We don't.
So
yeah, and at the end of the day, like that's a good point about pigeonholing, because we don't always know exactly who's going to find our content the most valuable or really enjoy it. And it may be areas that we haven't even thought of. And this is where, as these algorithms get smarter and smarter, like almost leaving it to them, because we're aligned almost in goals with the algorithm as far as getting it in front of the right people. They also want to get it in front of the right people. If they serve the wrong content to the wrong people, those people get bored or just don't like the content and they stop using the platform or hop off, and it costs that platform money and eventually could even kill the platform. So they also want to get the right things in front of the right people. And so we got to help that happen essentially as a part of that too. So
that's right.
So cool.
Good stuff. Okay. So should I use my personal profile?
Ooh, okay. I love this one. All right. So this has got to be, if that's not the number one, the number two commonly asked question we get is, we talk about personal profiles and business pages, and people are like, well, which one should I be using? And isn't personal for personal and business for business? And, and that's one of the things I love covering. I'll cover it here because almost on every single call with an agent I have is the question that comes up. So, and so the short answer is yes, you should absolutely be using your personal profile. That should be primarily what you're using, and it's going to produce the most results out of everything too. And people are like, well, then what's the business page? And then why wouldn't I do business there and personal? And, the platforms actually benefit off of you thinking that too, right? And so let's break it down. What I normally mention is that social media is a tool, right? And I think we can all agree, in order to use a tool effectively, that you got to know how the tool works, or else you're wasting time, energy, right? And so, like, if I'm holding a chainsaw by the chain and not the handle, the trees don't get cut down and all my fingers get sewn back on, which we get hurricanes here in Florida, so I've been chainsawing a few things. But at the end of the day, if I use a tool correctly, I can get a lot of results for a lot less work. Or I can do the opposite. I can waste a bunch of time and energy and get no results coming out of it, which I think is a lot of people's experience with social media. I tried it, didn't work. I spent a lot of time, nothing, crickets. I give up. It's not for me, right? And it's like, you're kind of doing everything the opposite the way it really works. And so I always explain that you have to understand the tool so I can leverage that. So we mentioned Facebook right here. It's all social platforms, so kind of keep it general. But how do social media platforms make money, Elle?
Through ads.
Absolutely. That's why we're all gathering us for free on them, is so that they can make money off of ads being shown to us, right? And so with that, if it makes money off of ads, do you think social platforms have any incentive to get business pages in front of people for free?
Nope.
No, because then I wouldn't pay for any ads. They'd go out of business, right? It makes no financial sense for them. And the platforms are designed to make money. Don't have no doubt on that, guys. It's not just for free public use. It's to make money. And so if they have no incentive to get business pages in front of people for free, then it makes sense that they're going to limit that. So that's what they do. Like on Facebook, for example, for a business page, they typically limit the reach, fancy word for how many people see anything I do, to 1% or less. You guys, just so you can visualize how little that is. If I spent time, energy, even money getting 1,000 people following my business page, I'd be lucky if even 10 people saw it whenever I posted anything on there. So it's kind of like shouting into the desert. It doesn't do any good. It's like having a Michelin star restaurant in the middle of a desert. Food could be amazing, but if no one knows it's there, who cares, right? And so that's where having a business page can be good, but it's not where I spend my time and energy because it's not the best use of my time and not going to produce the results. Where on the personal profile, Facebook and social platforms have the exact opposite incentive. They wouldn't exist unless those were connecting, engaging, commenting, spending time on the platform, which means they have more time now to serve ads and make more money. Or if it's causing people to leave the platform, they want to de-incentivize that. So such as using links in your post will cause people to leave and now they can't make money until they come back. So they show those to less as well. So there's a lot of strategy goes into it. But at the end of the day, personal profile is absolutely what these platforms are incentivized to push and get in front of people and encourage. And so that's where we can leverage that for both prospects, referrals, referral partners, and all these things.
What if I don't want to use my personal profile? Should I just create another profile specifically for insurance?
Good question. No, we do not advise creating multiple profiles on that side. You know, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is trust. Like when people see multiple profiles, they assume one spam, you got hacked. It just limits trust, limits which one do I connect with. It just causes confusion, technically against the T's and C's of the platforms too. So you run the risk of them even shutting it down or converting one to a business page and stuff on that side. But no, you shouldn't start up separate profiles necessarily, because there is an advantage to almost the age of a profile too. Like if I'm starting a brand new profile, Facebook social platforms concern is spam. So they're going to limit kind of how much activity, what's going on, especially initially with a new profile, because they don't want a new profile being created and spamming a bunch of people. So if you start doing too much activity, you'll be like, hold off. You can't send any more comments. You can't send any more friend requests, stuff like that, you know, in order to make sure that's real. So I advise not starting a new one, just using your existing one. And yeah, I can leverage that. I can revamp it, optimize. We teach on that all the time. But yeah, I wouldn't normally advise having multiple profiles.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. So what do you advise for people that are just getting started with social, especially if they maybe haven't been super active in the past or they're growing an audience from scratch?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing with social is consistency. So it really is progress over perfection and making sure to regularly get content out and put that in place and not worry about it being perfect. The life cycle of content typically is not that long anyway, so it doesn't make sense to spend a bunch of time or reshoot things. You know, most stuff, just picking up a phone, one take, done, putting it out as far as like a video. And so it really is just getting consistent and knowing this is something I'll improve over time, get better over time. And as I'm doing it, just the sake of even doing it helps as well. So that's one of the things at first is like just realizing like, hey, this is a skill set I'll be building and learning, and let me be consistent with it so I can get better out of it. But as far, yeah, Elle, what else do you have as far as like if someone's kind of going to be new at this and getting started, what kind of tips do you have?
Yeah, I mean, the consistency is a big thing. If you're brand new to it, there's going to be a level of intimidation or a learning curve with it. And there's going to be a process of being bad, honestly. Like it's just like any other skill that you learn inside your business or when you are a student, you have to go through that learning process. And I think social media feels really scary to go through that because you're doing it very publicly in front of people as you're posting content. So definitely giving yourself grace and just like thinking about this as like you're just testing, and with every test, you're learning something new. And the faster that you can test, the faster you're going to learn what your audience is responding to, and the faster you can create more content like that. So the faster that you act, it's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off, the faster you do these things, the quicker you're going to move out of that level of discomfort and really start mastering the skill and get to the point where you are using this consistently for lead generation. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes is that agents start, they're bad at it, they're learning the skill, and they're not getting a result from it. So they just give up on it instead of just pushing through the discomfort of it, learning the skill through the discomfort and getting to the other side of it so that it can really be an asset and be a tool for your business. So I think the mindset is a really big part of it. And then your level of activity. This is just like anything else with building your business. You can't be very passive with this and then just expect it to generate a result of opportunities and leads with your business. So it really needs to be something that you're putting time and attention to every single day. You're creating content, you are making connections, you are finding inspiration. Like, look at other content creators. There's not a lot of like new things, new ideas that are out there. Most of the content that's being created is just a version, somebody else's spin on it. So find some content creators that you really like and put your own spin on what they're doing. Like you can replicate things. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. And stick with it through that process. And engaging with people is also a big thing. We don't see people engage enough with their
it's not
audience.
just posting content like that.
Yeah.
That's not how I use social media. Is, if I just put a post, I'll be good. Like, I've got to engage, I got to connect. That's literally part of the social aspect of it. Otherwise, you're just treating it like a billboard, which it's more like walking in a room full of people. So
Yep, absolutely. So another common question that we get, what's the best type of content to create? Is it photos? Is it videos? Is it stories? Is it long form video, short form video? What's the best content?
So, I mean, pros and cons to all types of content. They all have advantages. Video itself is easily the number one type of content to create. It gives, and part of that's like psychologically, it is the closest that we can get to sitting down with someone in person without actually sitting down in person. So they can see us, they can hear us, and that helps build trust. It helps them, if they hear something of value from us, that builds that trust and authority of them with us, right? Versus seeing just an image with it on a text, or a sharing from someone else doesn't really help us be seen as authority, or people reach out to us. So video is easily the number one. So what most people engage with, I'm able to deliver more information in a less period of time. And so absolutely encourage video. Now, that could be a combination of short form, could be a combination of long form, but the better I get at video, it helps so many different areas of my business, not only for my content, but also as I'm teaching clients or sitting down and presenting to prospects, or just even as I'm doing public speaking. All of that gets better the better I am at doing video, the more comfortable I get with it. And so video is absolutely number one. And then if I'm not doing a video, then images, especially with me in them, would be secondary. The thing you want to avoid is just straight up text. I'll be honest, people are super lazy and they're not going to read that anyways. Unless
you're a very, very talented writer. I mean, there are some people that can successfully do it, but they're usually like copywriter levels. Like they get paid to write for people.
I'd venture to say if you're not a copywriter, no one's reading your copy. And even the copywriters, they're very strategic with how they do it. It's not a block of text.
That's right.
They space it every line or two to make it easier to read. So you almost don't realize how much it is. And so you're almost committed and just keep going from line to line, realizing, oh, I just read a novel here and I didn't mean to initially. Copywriters is very good at that. Most people, they throw up their blocks of text and say, oh, why is no one paying any attention or reading this? And it's like, no one wants to read that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
absolutely. What do you tell people when they're scared to get on camera? How do they create engaging content when they're not comfortable on video?
Okay. So first we'll start just kind of overall with uncomfortable things, and then we'll get into specifics. So with with everything, whether it's being on camera and I'm afraid of being that, calling my first prospect, whatever it is, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is a key skill set. We talk about this all the time. We teach our clients this. It's the uncomfortable things that usually advance my business forward or advance me as a person, right? And the growth doesn't happen in comfort. So this is very much where, hey, if I'm not doing something each day, each week that's uncomfortable or challenging me, then I'm not really growing or getting better. And so this is a prime example of that. Is video for every single person, the first time they're doing it, first getting into it, is going to be scary.
What? They're not just an automatic natural. They're not just born being great at video.
Okay, there might be a couple people, but most people, and I venture to say the vast majority of insurance agents, it's not something that comes very naturally.
Were we very good at video?
No, we were terrible. Like, listen, I still get them popping up. Thanks Facebook memories for telling me how terrible I was back in the day. But when Facebook Lives first came out, Elle and I gave ourselves a challenge to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We knew this was going to be a big thing on social. It was being heavily like pushed by Facebook. We're like, okay, we should probably learn how to do this, right? And this was 10 plus years ago. Elle and I were like, okay, we're going to do 30 Facebook Lives in 30 days. We're going to do a Facebook Live every single day. It wasn't all business. We were just talking for fun and stuff, but to get better at it. And I go back and look at these, and it's terrible. The video quality is terrible. The audio is not great. Our ability to hold interest and stuff throughout, doing the live was a challenge. And so they weren't great. Now, to be fair though, they're actually well received. People liked it. They're like, oh, we get to see you. Oh, what's going on? Oh, what are you up to? Are you moved? You got a new house, whatever, and stuff. And we realized, oh, a lot of those limiting factors and fears in our head were just limiting beliefs and fears that didn't come to reality. Right. And so that is something we had to.
But David, what if somebody writes something negative on my post?
Who would dare? Tell me who it is. I'll go get them right now, Elle. No one messes with my Elle, right? So
what if they're trolling me?
I'll be honest, the internet and just life in general is full of trolls, right? And what do we do with trolls, Elle?
Kick them to the curb.
That's right. And most of these platforms have a very convenient button that's called the block button. And so I block them and I move on with my life and I don't give it a second thought, right? And so that's something to know. Like, yes, there's going to be people that maybe don't like everything or don't align with us. And that doesn't matter if it's social media or in person, right? Like, I wish I was friends and deeply connected with everybody and they all loved me, but that's not reality. So, everybody's got some haters or people that just don't click or jive with our personalities. That's fine, but I don't want to let that keep me from helping the people that do need my help, that do want my help, that do like me, that do connect and stuff. And so that's where I want to focus my time and energy. And if people aren't aligned, it's negative, it's stuff that just troll comments, then it's a block and move on, right? That's the easiest thing. I don't have to respond to it. I don't have to give it a second thought. Now, do I? Yes. So it's something I'm still working on too. Let's be honest. Like, oh, I want to respond to this ad comment, whatever, and stuff. And it's like, no, because I'll be honest, the comments we get in our ads are nuts. I swear, we got some psychopaths. We got some just like the definition of troll people sometimes. But in reality, it's just like, oh, okay, delete or block or just move on or whatever. Don't even give it a second thought because the comment helps the ads actually anyways. And so, yeah, I mean, that's where, once again, we just got to get comfortable with not realizing our value, what we do is off of someone who doesn't like it or is just messing with us versus our actual clients and partners and colleagues that love it, and we see the results, we see the growth, we get the thanks, we get the reviews from them. That's where our time and energy needs to go. And that's what I challenge you guys as agents and on using social is if you see something negative, something is just block, move on. Like no one, you're not getting thrown to jail for blocking someone. Like it's okay. You can do it. So, and
definitely don't waste the mental bandwidth on it, and definitely don't let it be something that keeps you from creating content. I think that shows a huge sign of growth when you do get your first like hater or negative comment, which as you market and as you grow a brand, you will get those negative comments. It's not if, it's when. And we actually have a client that somebody told him his videos weren't very good or were kind of like goofy or something like that.
Who said that? I'm gonna go get them too.
He actually stopped creating content videos specifically for a time, but we worked on the AI. So we started using ChatGPT to come up with ideas, but he also had to kind of make peace with the fact that not everybody's going to love his content and be a fan. And that's okay. That's actually a sign of really good marketing when you've got marketing that is hopefully attracting the people that you want to work with and then repelling the people that you don't want to work with. Because let's be honest, if they're not really like jiving with your video or your brand, then they're probably not going to jive with you in real life or person either. And they're probably not worth the time. So that's just a sign of good marketing and growth. One of my favorite comments by Dan Kennedy.
Yeah, I figured you guys said that.
Is if you haven't received a piece of hate mail by lunch, you're not marketing hard enough. So just again, getting comfortable with that, knowing that that's part of it, and just being able to keep moving forward and not letting it deter you, because you're out here trying to do bigger things and actually help people get properly protected. Let that be your motivation to reach as many people as possible.
And in reality, what's more painful today? Someone like on a phone rejecting you, cussing you out personally, and being super angry and yelling at you, or very rarely, I don't even know if I've ever had that on social media, like someone personally like attack me and cuss me out on social. Like that's not a thing. So it's like the rejection on social or someone trolling is way less, I think, personally affecting me or feels like discouraging than someone on a phone like going off on me, right? And so I'd much rather do social, and like I said, I can block a little bit,
a lot
but
more control.
a lot more control, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
All right, David. Well, this sounds really time consuming, and you're going to make me get on video. I'm going to have to spend my whole day recording content and hiring a video editor to put out professional looking videos.
Yeah. So we absolutely teach that people really lock themselves in a room, pre-prep your meals for the next month, get a little bucket to use the restroom. You don't have time to walk down the hall, and you're going to make content and you're going to do social media 24/7 for the next year. And then you want to pay someone about $10,000 a month to edit it. And that's what we teach for social media. So good luck.
There you go. Done.
Yeah. Done. Just kidding. None of that, guys. Seriously. Like, okay, so let's come back to reality, right? You know, there are agents using social media successfully and growing their business, as well as multiple businesses, right? And you know that they also have families, they also have lives and things they enjoy. So do you think 24/7, 365 they're spending on social? Absolutely not. So that means there's got to be a way to balance this and be effective. And this, once again, the advantage of having coaches, trainers, and people that can, hey, ABCD is exactly what you do. So I can limit the time I'm doing it, focus more of my time on actually selling policies and helping people and spending time with my family, right? And that's what it really comes down to. Once again, of knowing the tool. If I know the tool, I can spend a lot less time for a lot more results. And so when we break it down on average for both learning the actual strategies and coaching around it and implementing social strategies, about 45 minutes to an hour a day. So we recommend, and that's not just all putting in place, that's actually learning also. And that drops down to 20, 30 minutes over time because it gets even easier, right, as you go on. That's why I like socials. It's scalable. So setting aside some time each day, whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, that I'm consistently working and putting these strategies in place around social or creating pieces of content and stuff, it's great, right? Like, I'm not telling people to go spend hours a day on social media. Let's be honest, it's a waste just reading political posts or alien drones in New Jersey or whatever's going on. I don't know, right? And so I like to focus it and use it as a tool and move forward on that. And it doesn't take a lot of time. I could batch my content for the week and I could take an hour, create a whole week's worth of content that I don't even have to take the time to create the content each day. I'm just posting and then doing the other strategies as part of it. Like, it can be very efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And agents can actually take their daily activities and turn that into social media content. Kind of just going back to like, I don't have a very interesting life. What am I going to post about? But even just thinking about like your morning routines, what do you do, throughout the day as far as when you're working with clients and doing those presentations. And then after work, are you picking up kids from school, taking them to their sports practices? Do you go for an evening walk with your dog? What are you doing on the weekends? Those types of things that you can start really building into your social media presence. And again, going back to that type of content is typically what's going to perform the best. And it also is building rapport with your audience because they're getting to know you just beyond being an insurance agent.
Yeah, and this can definitely get to something to the point where I'm getting enough business and stuff rolling in and production and income to where, yeah, I can start to leverage something like virtual assistant to help out with some of these processes, free up even more time and stuff from that, get even more streamlined with it and stuff as well. So once again, like social, I can execute it without having to spend a ton of time on it. And this is where we do talk about consistency is more for than perfection. It's like, I'd rather pick up a phone, record 30 seconds a minute, answering a question, post that video, done, move on to the next thing as a part of it. So I've had clients before, hey, I shot this 50 times and finally have it ready to post, and it's the 30-second video. I'm like, people are going to see that today, and then by tomorrow, that piece of content is generally not going to be seen by anybody again.
Yeah.
Spend about way too long, 49 too many takes on it. So.
Yeah. And then, like, do you need to hire a video editor?
No, honestly, like a lot of our top performing content and client top is just picking up a phone and that's it. Like, recording and posting, like no editing, no text, no music, anything like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with some of those things, but in general, like almost the less highly produced and edited something is, the better it performs, right? Because it blends in with the natural rest of the content and stuff there as well. So no, you absolutely don't need to hire a video editor. You don't, as you grow and scale and get bigger and bigger and bigger, yeah, maybe I do that to save time or do some cool things with some of my videos, but not necessary to get results and growth, which is probably why you're using social media in the first place, not to be the next Kim Kardashian of the insurance industry. So
love it, David. Well, as we kind of wrap up this segment, are there any other burning questions that you've heard from agents that you think that we should answer?
The most burning one I get is, are you guys related? So yeah, I get that one often, right? So surprise for anybody who's watching that's maybe just brand new to the content. We are married, by the way.
We're married?
Kind of surprise, right? So so yes, we are married. Yeah. So and for quite a while too. So we'll go back into our background story at some point. But yeah, we started dating at 16 in high school, married at 21 in college, and it's been a lot of years. So I think 14 years married almost and 19 together or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, we've been together for a while, guys. So but yeah, I don't have any. I mean, we could obviously keep going for hours and hours, but I think for the sake of time,
yeah,
answered a pretty good amount.
And if we didn't answer your question and you've got a burning question about social media and how to use it to generate leads for your insurance business, drop it in the comments because we're going to be doing more of these segments. We get these questions all of the time. This is what David and I love to chat with agents about and making sure they've got the information to really grow their businesses and to do what's working in 2025.
And as we wrap up, Elle, one more time. Where can they find the latest marketing resources, the past episodes, everything so they can scale their businesses?
Past episodes, I've got a digital marketing checklist for you. I think I even put in our latest how to use AI to become your marketing assistant. That one's there too. Go over to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast to get all of the episodes and all of the resources that we mentioned here on the podcast.
Love it. So guys, go check that out. Let us know these questions. If you're not in the Facebook group, Market for Insurance Agents, come hop in there. You can say hi, see us there. We'll get you some more resources also. But we appreciate you guys being here. Listen to us. Stay tuned for next week's episodes of the Modern Insurance Agent podcast, and we'll see you there.